I paid for my sister's dream wedding. She banned me because I wasn't good enough for her guests. The email arrived on a Tuesday afternoon. No fanfare, no warning, just a simple notification on my phone. An invitation list update for my sister's wedding. At first I thought it was just another detail I needed to handle. After all, I had been the one funding this entire spectacle. The dress, the 5-star venue, the imported floral arrangements that cost more than my monthly rent. I had taken care of it all. So when I opened the email and saw that my name wasn't on the guest list, a slow, creeping chill spread through my veins. There had to be a mistake. I scrolled down, scanning through the carefully curated list of acceptable attendees, business moguls, politicians, trust fund brats who had never worked a day in their lives. Every name gleamed with wealth, power, or social influence. But mine? Missing. My fingers tightened around my phone. This had to be an oversight. Had to be. I had spent months making sure this wedding was flawless. I had poured thousands of dollars into my sister's dream day, bending over backward to secure everything she wanted. I didn't expect gratitude. I had long since given up on that. But to not even be invited? That wasn't just an oversight. That was deliberate. I took a deep breath before calling her. I wasn't angry yet, just confused. Maybe there was an explanation, a reason why my name had been accidentally left out. The phone rang twice before she picked up. "Hey!" Olivia's voice was bright, cheerful, the voice of someone who had everything. "What's up?" I wasted no time. I just saw the finalized guest list. A brief pause. Then, a slow exhale. "Right. I was meaning to call you about that." Something in her tone made my stomach twist. My pulse hammered against my ribs. "What's going on, Olivia? Why am I not on the list?" Another pause. Longer this time. "Look, it's not personal. Not personal. It's just, the guest list is really selective, you know. There are a lot of important people coming, and I had to make some tough decisions." Tough decisions. As if removing her own sibling was some logistical necessity. I felt my hands shake as I forced my voice to stay level. "I paid for this wedding, Olivia. I know." The way she said it, so dismissive, so entitled, made something inside me snap. "And that doesn't even earn me a seat?" She let out a small, awkward laugh, the kind she used when she wanted to brush something off. "Come on, don't be like that. You know how these things are. It's about appearances. Some of my guests, well, they expect a certain kind of atmosphere. A certain kind of atmosphere." I suddenly felt sick. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an accident. She had purposely excluded me. Because I wasn't good enough. Because the same sibling who had funded her fairy tale wedding wasn't fancy enough to be part of her world. I should have screamed at her. Should have angry, demanded an explanation, forced her to say it outright. But I didn't. Because I wasn't just angry. I was calculating. And if she thought she could erase me from the day I had built with my own hands, she had another thing coming. I didn't tell anyone at first. Not my parents, not our relatives, not even the people who had personally witnessed me sacrificing my own money, time, and energy to make this wedding happen. Because if Olivia wanted her wedding to be perfect, I was going to let her think it would be. I watched as the days ticked by, as she happily posted about her special day, thanking everyone but me for making it possible. I let her bask in the illusion of control, in the belief that she had crafted a flawless narrative. And then, I shattered it. A week before the wedding, I sent out my own invitations. Not to some grand exclusive venue, not to the rich and powerful guests Olivia had so carefully selected. No, I sent them to every single vendor I had paid. The florist, the catering company, the decorators, the photographers, everyone who had been hired under my name, using my money. And in those invitations, I included one simple, undeniable truth. This wedding was funded by me. And yet, I was deemed not good enough to attend. The fallout was immediate. The wedding was supposed to be flawless. Instead, it became a battlefield. Guests whispered behind gloved hands, passing phones around, reading my message. Vendors walked out, refusing to work for a bride who had betrayed the very person who made her day possible. The floral arrangements, gone. The catering, canceled last minute. The photographers refused to show up, and Olivia, she was livid. She stormed out of the bridal suite, her pristine white gown dragging across the floor, her face flushed with rage. How dare you?" she hissed, shoving her phone in my face. The very email I had sent was glaring back at me, my words bold and undeniable. I stared at her calmly. "I dared because you did. You thought you could erase me, that you could use my money and then pretend I didn't exist." She trembled with fury. "You ruined my wedding." I smiled. "No, Olivia, I paid for it, and you didn't even have the decency to give me a seat." Tears welled in her eyes, not from guilt, but from embarrassment, because now everyone knew. Everyone saw her for what she truly was: entitled, ungrateful, cruel, the perfect image she had crafted, destroyed. And I had never felt stronger. The wedding went on, but it was nothing like the grand event she had imagined. With no catering, guests left early. With no photographers, there were no flawless pictures to capture the moment. What should have been her perfect day became a hollow shell of itself, an empty, awkward gathering filled with people who now knew the truth. And me? I walked away, finally free. I had given Olivia everything. And in return, she had shown me exactly how little I meant to her. But in the end, I was the one who had taken everything back. She had wanted a wedding without me. And that was exactly what she got. The wedding should have been Olivia's crowning moment. Instead, it became a disaster she could never erase. After the chaos I had unleashed, the grand ballroom, once meant to be the pinnacle of elegance, was reduced to a scene of barely contained panic. The guests, who had arrived expecting luxury, were now whispering behind gloved hands, their eyes darting between Olivia and the wreckage of the event she had so carefully constructed. There was no perfectly plated dinner, no extravagant floral arrangements, no seamless transition from vows to reception. Because I had stripped it all away. I didn't stay to watch it all crumble in real time. I didn't need to. I had already seen the look on Olivia's face, the way her perfect composure had cracked, the way her entitled rage had turned to something closer to fear. Because she knew this wasn't just one bad night. This was a permanent stain. And no amount of money, no carefully curated Instagram captions, no forced smiles and half-empty wedding photos could erase what had happened. People would talk, and they would never stop. I spent the next few days in a blissful state of detachment. The texts and calls came flooding in almost immediately, from family, from acquaintances, even from people who had barely spoken to me before. Some were furious, some were shocked, some just wanted the juicy details. But the ones that mattered most? Those came from Olivia. "Olivia, you've ruined everything. Olivia, how could you be so spiteful? Olivia, do you even understand what you've done?" Each message reeked of desperation, her usual carefully poised elegance cracking under the weight of consequences. And then, finally, "Olivia, please, I need to talk to you." That one made me smile. I didn't respond right away. I let her stew in it for a while, let her sit with the reality that she could no longer dictate the terms of how this played out. It wasn't until our mother called, her voice tight, her words measured, the way they always were when she was trying to contain a crisis, that I decided it was time. "Come over," she said, and it wasn't a request. So I went. When I arrived at my parents' house, Olivia was already there, pacing the living room in a silk robe, her makeup from the wedding still smeared under her eyes. She looked like a woman who had spent the night sobbing. Good. The moment she saw me, her expression twisted into something between rage and pleading. "How could you do this to me?" she demanded, her voice hoarse. I took my time, stepping further into the room, my eyes scanning the familiar walls. The same walls where, growing up, Olivia had been worshipped while I had been overlooked. It was strange, standing here now, with all the power she had once wielded completely gone. "I didn't do anything to you," I said calmly. "I just told the truth." Her hands clenched at her sides. "You humiliated me." I tilted my head. "Did I?" I let the question hang, let it settle between us like a heavy fog. "Or did you humiliate yourself when you decided I wasn't good enough to attend the wedding I paid for?" She flinched. Our mother spoke. "This has gone too far." Her voice was sharp, the same way it always was when she thought I was the one causing trouble. I let out a small, humorless laugh. "Too far? Funny. I don't remember you thinking it was too far when Olivia banned me from my own sister's wedding." My mother stiffened. My father, sitting quietly in the corner, rubbed his temples but said nothing. Because what could he say? There was no excuse for what Olivia had done, and they knew it. "Look," Olivia said, her voice breaking. I made a mistake, okay? I wasn't thinking. I got caught up in everything, and I handled it wrong. Wrong. As if she had simply forgotten to return a borrowed dress, or sent a rude email by mistake. Not deliberately erased me from one of the biggest days of her life. I took a slow breath, feeling a wave of something I hadn't expected. Not anger, not anymore. Something closer to clarity. "You still don't get it, do you?" I said, my voice quiet now. She blinked. "What?" "This isn't about the wedding," I said. "This is about the fact that you've spent your entire life treating me like I was less. And the second I stopped being useful to you, you didn't just ignore me. You erased me." She opened her mouth, then closed it. Because what could she say to that? "Tell me, Olivia," I continued, stepping closer. "If I hadn't paid for your wedding, would you have even invited me at all?" Silence. A long, heavy, painful silence, because the answer was no, and we both knew it. "I want my money back." The words left my mouth calmly, but they hit the room like a bomb. Olivia's face paled. "What?" I crossed my arms. "Every cent I spent on your wedding, I want it back." My mother let out a sharp breath. "Be reasonable." I said. "I paid for everything. I made sure Olivia had her dream wedding." And what did I get in return? Neither of them had an answer. I turned to Olivia. "You have 3 months." She let out a desperate, breathless laugh. "You're joking." "Do I look like I'm joking?" Her lips parted, but no words came out, because she had nothing left. No excuses, no manipulations, no power. Olivia was experiencing what it felt like to be the one left scrambling. And I was finally free. Olivia didn't pay me back in 3 months. She couldn't. Her reputation took a nosedive after the wedding debacle, and some of the wealthier friends she had tried so hard to impress distanced themselves. Her dream honeymoon? Canceled. The perfect image she had built of herself? Shattered. She tried to pretend things were fine, but there was no coming back from this. Not really. And me? I thrived, not just because I had won, but because I had finally let go. I wasn't waiting for Olivia's approval anymore. I wasn't chasing my family's acceptance. I had walked away. And in doing so, I had finally taken back everything they had tried to take from me. Time changes things. It dulls rage, cools tempers, makes once agonizing wounds turn into nothing more than scars. But some betrayals don't fade. And Olivia's was one of them. For months after the wedding fiasco, she did everything she could to avoid paying me back. At first, she made weak promises. "I just need a little time. Things are tight right now. You understand, don't you?" Then she tried guilt. "You're really going to make me pay for my own wedding when you can afford it?" That's so heartless. When that didn't work, she turned to our parents. She sobbed to our mother about how I was punishing her, how I was trying to ruin her life. My mother, predictable as always, called me, her voice laced with forced calmness. "Can't you just let this go?" I laughed, a sharp, humorless sound. "Let it go? She's your sister." That word meant nothing to me anymore. "If she was my sister," I said, voice even, "she wouldn't have done what she did." There was silence on the other end of the phone. I realized something. My mother knew I was right. She just didn't want to admit it. 3 months passed. Then 4. Olivia still hadn't paid me back, and I had given her enough chances. So I did what she never expected me to do. I sued her. The case was airtight. Every transaction was in my name. Every vendor contract was signed by me. Every deposit, every receipt, every proof of payment, it all led back to me. And when she got served with the lawsuit, she lost it. "You can't be serious," she shrieked over the phone, her voice cracking. "You're taking me to court?" I was completely calm. "You had 3 months, Olivia. I told you exactly what would happen if you didn't pay me back." "You're actually insane." Her breathing was ragged, panic creeping into her tone. "You're my family." I cut her off. "You didn't care about that when you erased me from your wedding." Silence. And for once, she had nothing left to say. The lawsuit didn't drag on. She tried to argue that it was a gift, that I had offered to pay for her wedding. But the evidence was damning. Emails, text messages, bank statements, all proving that this was a loan, not a gift. The judge saw right through her, and in the end, she lost. She was ordered to pay back every single cent, and because she had delayed for months, she now owed interest. Olivia's perfect little world came crashing down. With her finances already tight, the court ruling pushed her over the edge. She had no choice but to sell off the luxury apartment she and her new husband had barely been able to afford. Her social circle, those shallow, elitist people she had chosen over me, began to distance themselves, because she was no longer one of them. She had wanted status, wanted to be part of that perfect high-class world. But in the end, she ended up with nothing. And me, I got everything she owed me, to the last cent. A few weeks after the case closed, Olivia showed up at my door. She looked different. Gone was the carefully styled perfection, the designer outfits, the smug confidence. Instead, she stood there in cheap clothing, her eyes shadowed with exhaustion, her lips pressed into a thin line. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she exhaled sharply. "Are you happy now?" I studied her, tilting my head. "I don't know. Are you?" She let out a bitter laugh, shaking her head. "You ruined my life." I let those words settle, let her sit in the weight of them. Then I smiled. "No, Olivia," I said softly. "I just stopped letting you ruin mine." Her face twisted, something like pain flashing in her eyes. But I didn't care, because this was the end. She had been removed from my life, just like she had tried to remove me from hers. And this time, she wouldn't get to rewrite the story. Without another word, I closed the door. I didn't look back. Olivia had spent her entire life making me feel like I wasn't good enough, like I was less, like I didn't deserve a seat at the table. But in the end, she was the one left standing outside, looking in.